do is I'm going to show you guys the traditional meal that I've typically made for Easter. So I'm going to do a preview of that. I'm going to do it today, and obviously it's before Easter. And this is an idea for some people if they're wondering, you know, what they could do. It's a different idea, and basically it's derived from Jamie Oliver's very, very, very famous pork dish. And it's pork with peaches and thyme-garlic butter, and it's very, very delicious. Everybody who's ever had it has just been amazed. And because it's still sort of, you know, we're still in the pandemic, we have to, you know, sort of make do with what we can find, what we have. And I just wanted to show, I'm going to show in more detail later. It's okay. As I said, I will show in more detail later. I have, I wanted to get a pork roast, and what I have is this. This is a huge piece of pork meat, and by the way, lots of fat, which will be very crispy in the oven. But the main thing is we couldn't find exactly the roast, but I'm still going to make a very nice roast with what I have. I have 2 pieces of meat. I can actually put the stuffing inside. Quickly, some of the ingredients. This is brown sugar. This is garlic. This is basil, but you're supposed to use thyme. I find oregano or basil is a good substitute if you don't have thyme. I have some butter here, and this is really what makes this dish. This is peaches. I'll show you how I prepare that, but that's really the main star ingredient after the meat. It really, really makes the dish very delicious and very juicy and everything. So I will be back. I'm going to show you guys how I do this. So stay tuned, and I'll get started. So hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, so I'm just going to show what I did for prep. I took about a 1/4 cup of butter and I cut it up into small pieces. And to that I added minced garlic and 1 spice of my choice. I chose to use actually sage. I remembered that sage also goes very well with pork. What I would recommend for this recipe is, because you want only 1 of the herbs to go through and give it the dominant flavor, you could do 1 of 4 or 5 things. You could use either sage or rosemary or basil or oregano or thyme. The original recipe calls for thyme. I don't have it. I was going to use basil, and then I thought I will use sage. So what I have is sort of a rustic sage butter. I have some sage, and I have some chunks of butter, and I have some minced garlic. And because this is going to go into the oven for an hour to an hour and a half to potentially 2 hours for a bigger roast, it can be rustic like this, and that's part of the charm of this recipe, that you don't have to really fuss. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this butter and I'm literally going to put it on. And as I explained before, this is it's a rib cut of pork, and I've done it with this kind of cut of meat before, but this is a little bit like more of a rib than I'm used to, but we'll see how it goes. As I mentioned, it is a pandemic. You don't necessarily get exactly what you're looking for, and so I'm going to have to deal with what I have. So, and I'm going to show the top of this roast later on, what I did. So here I have my peaches, and what I'm going to do is literally put the peaches on, because what the peaches will do is it will give this a lot of flavor, and it will make the meat moist. So I'm also putting them sort of towards the side of the roast as well, because the pan juices will obviously, you know, be flavored with the peaches. So I'm just going to put a few more just going to put a few more peaches on here. And once I do that, I'm almost done. I'm not going to put it on the top of the roast, and I'll explain why. I'm now going to put a bit of brown sugar, and you cannot skimp on the brown sugar. And the reason is because when it mixes with the butter, it is so, so good. Okay, so I have some brown sugar. I am going to close the top of this roast, and I will explain what I did very quickly. I made sure that the top is as dry as possible, and I took a knife and I scored. I don't have a lot of fat. I would have preferred more fat, but I've scored it and I've kept it as dry as possible. I did not take any of the liquid, any of the peaches, any of the anything, and I didn't put it on top because I want it, the top where the fat is, to be as dry as possible so it can be as crispy as possible when it comes out of the oven. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, for once, I'm actually going to, I very rarely use salt, and I'm actually going to put a bit of salt on the roast, which will help it, hopefully it will help it to, you know, be crispy, but also definitely we need it to cook. And there you go. So this is going to be going into the oven. I may put some a little bit of garlic on top, but I think I will not because I really want to make sure this is as dry as possible. Okay, so once the roast is done, I will be back. Here's the pork roast, not roast, and it looks absolutely good. It looks so good. And a certain person came home early because he knew this was going to be on for supper, and we're both really excited. I have to admit, as I said before, I don't eat a lot of meat these days, and especially not pork, so this is a very, very special something that I've made. So I'm gonna ask our camera person here to take a close-up, and I just want to show my plate of curry here. I have some green onion curry, which I showed in another episode. And then what I'm going to do, actually, if you can keep the camera on there, what I wanted to do is just show how beautiful this roast looks. So this is the top part, and you can see the bits of fat. We didn't have enough for crackling, but it just looks gorgeous to me. And you have this beautiful, the peaches, sort of slightly golden brown with the beautiful butter garlic. Okay, so I'm just going to dig in with my curry here. Okay, so I'm just going to have a bit. So good. It is really, really good. And I'm not used to eating salt. So, my God, I don't even know what to say. So, I don't know whether or not you will do this for Easter. This is an adaptation of a Jamie Oliver pork loin roast with peaches and thyme butter, I believe, Thyme-Garlic butter. It's amazing. And if you're going to be eating pork roast or pork chops, I would definitely encourage you to give this a try. It's a lot of flavor. It's moist, and pork is actually quite hard to make moist and have it, you know, cook well. So well done, but moist. So it's really, really good. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and please subscribe. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye for now.